A very controversial story here. Would you allow your son to be circumcised by an individual without a medical license? And should the legal system be involved in that decision? Well, in Belgium, prosecutors have moved to bring criminal charges against 3 Jewish Mohels in Antwerp, people who perform ritual Jewish circumcisions, over allegations that they carried out the procedure without a medical license. Now, the case goes back to raids last year in the city's Jewish quarter, where police searched homes and confiscated equipment as part of an investigation into illegal medical practice. Now, prosecutors say they believe they have enough evidence to send the case to trial, but the reaction has been explosive. Israel and the U.S. are both condemning the move, calling it shameful, and accusing Belgium of targeting Jewish religious practice, while Belgian officials insist that this is strictly about medical law and not religion at all. Well, joining us now is our senior correspondent, Owen Alterman. Owen, explain to our viewers what a mohel is and what certifications a mohel is supposed to have to be able to carry out a Jewish ritual circumcision.
Right. Well, Natasha, you said it was an explosive issue, and that's exactly right. And I think people taking a first glance at this might not understand what's actually going on and what's actually at stake. The Belgian government is not banning Jewish circumcision, is not banning Brit Milah. All they're saying is that the person performing the circumcision has to have medical training. For their part, Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar and the U.S. Ambassador to Belgium, Bill White, are both saying that they understand and accept that there needs to be some kind of certification process in Belgium. So the two sides, Natasha, aren't all that far apart. It's not as if one side wants to ban circumcision and one side is standing up its hind legs to make the circumcision isn't banned. One side is saying, the Belgian side, it needs to be a doctor. The other side is saying there needs to be a certification, but between the lines, it doesn't necessarily need to be a doctor. But going back to your question, under Jewish tradition, a mohel, someone performing the circumcision, is someone who gets training in a sense, an apprenticeship from someone who is a serving mohel. And this is someone who does perform the operation, perform the procedure on an ongoing basis and is a kind of de facto professional in the community. In Israel, as far as I understand it, and I went through the circumcision of my 2 children, there's no requirement for government certification for someone to be a mohel. It would be awfully hard to enforce that in Israeli society in all its different parts. There is a list of recommended mohelim, circumcisers, under the chief rabbinate, and some of them also have a medical degree and are doctors. And there are many, many doctors in Israel, pediatricians, urologists, pediatric urologists, and others who do also perform the circumcision. Some of them are religiously observant and some aren't. So this is a procedure that over the course of millennium has had a kind of informal sense of certification within the communities, which seems to be what's going on in Antwerp as well.
Right.
And governments haven't really stepped in necessarily, at least not in Israel, to come in and certify those. But there are countries abroad, and Gideon Sa'ar, Israel's foreign minister, alludes to this in his tweet responding to this incident, that do have certification procedures. And he is calling on the Belgian government to sit down and to agree to certify mohelim who aren't necessarily doctors. For the time being, the Belgian government is saying if someone wants to certify and to circumcise an 8-day-old child, the person does need to be a doctor.
Right. You know, I guess the final question I have is how the Jewish community is responding to this, if it's viewed as a violation of religious freedom in Belgium.
Yes, the Jewish community is up in arms in Belgium and throughout Europe, saying this is a violation of religious freedom, that the government is coming in and being intrusive in a procedure that's millennia old, and that this is really a solution in search of a problem, because these mohelim have conducted circumcisions that haven't actually harmed anyone. So that's the argument from the Jewish community. Again, Natasha, the argument for the Belgian government is these circumcisions can be performed, but only by a doctor. One final note, there has been noise in Europe, particularly in Iceland, but not only, to actually ban circumcision, Jewish ritual circumcision, entirely. Natasha, that would be a different ballgame. That would be a different story than simply requiring that the mohel, that the circumciser, be a doctor, or as Israel's foreign ministry and Israel's ambassador is saying, maybe be a non-doctor, but undergo some kind of government certification.